Hi, this is Scott Garibay. Today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to talk about three fateful words. This is no game. All right, so let's get into this. So I have an incredibly unique view of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm the only person in the world who believes it. I've never had a single person go, "I think you're right." I think there are people who have said, "Hey, I think I see some of the evidence for what you believe, but I don't believe exactly what you believe. I believe maybe 80%. I don't even give anybody even went to, I think maybe one person was like, I believe 66% of your theory, right? So this is my theory. This is, in my humble opinion, in 1974, Gary Gygax made Dungeons and Dragons, but he didn't make a game. He made a human improvement engine, and he hid it as a game because he was smart enough to realize that nothing on the planet was serving as an actual functioning human improvement engine. That nothing was really working. Like the only competition he had was self-help books, and he's like, people want to read 300-page books, probably don't need help anyway, right? So let me make something winsome and functional, and that's what he did. He made a human improvement engine a game because he knew he would pursue it, right? You got to throw self-help books at people. And even then, they'd be like, why are you throwing this self-help book at me? They're not going to be like, oh, thank you. They're going to be like, I don't need to read this, right? And so people don't like self-help, right? And so I believe Gary Gygax was this incredible polymath who created a self-help engine, a human improvement engine. And literally that will essentially, and I think it's already happening, will change the evolution of human intelligence, right? And human narrative, okay? Mostly our intelligence, but, and he's already fundamentally changed human narrative, right? So I have this incredibly unique view of Dungeons & Dragons. And you're like, well, Scott, why do you feel comfortable believing something that nobody else believes, right? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I know there was a guy named, and this is not his real name, but there was this guy was around. You're about to realize it. Hey, Shazzlebrax, tell everybody your theory again. Yes, hello everyone, my name is Shazzlebrax, and I believe that there's this thing called germs. They're small creatures that live on us that you're too small to see, and I think they make us sick. Shazzlebrax, nobody's ever seen any of this. Where's your evidence? Well, it's very difficult to present evidence to you because I think, it's gonna take layers of knowledge and evidence to come out over decades or maybe even centuries before people realize this. So there was one dude, there was a period where one dude knew about germs and was telling the whole world, and they were looking at him side-eyed and they were laughing at him. And I know people laugh at this concept, right? I get it, right? But I'm a Garibay, right? And I got the courage and and I would worry, I would be like, it's kind of odd to have this belief, but I'm crushing it. I've been married for 30 years. I got 4 great kids. They're all crushing it in the world. Off of the surplus skills I've given them, right? And and if everything around me was falling apart, I'd be worried. But that's just not the case, right? And so I have this unique view. I have this incredibly unique view, and I proceed, forward with this view, and and I know it's unique, right? So in 2019, I started talking about it very publicly, right? And I was like, hey, Dungeons & Dragons, this is no game. I was telling people, this ain't a game, in my humble opinion. And I also understand, you guys need a ton of evidence. To me, it's so obvious. There's so many things that happen with Dungeons & Dragons that do not happen with any game in the world, that the idea of it being a game is ludicrous to me, right, at this point, because I've been looking at this for so long, and I've piled up mountains and mountains of evidence for this, and my entire channel for 3 years has been like, hey, look at the evidence here, right? And so in 2019, I was like, hey, Dungeons & Dragons, this is no game. This is something different, right? And, in my humble opinion, this is no game, right? And I really thought I was the first person to say this, right? I thought I was the first to say, Dungeons & Dragons, this is no game. I am not. 2 groups beat me to it 20 years ago, okay? And I'm going to give you the evidence today. There's 2 groups that said 20 years ago, Dungeons & Dragons, this is no game, right? Now here's the groups. Hollywood said it in the year 2000 The first Dungeons and Dragons, movie came out. On the poster, it says Dungeons and Dragons, and the tagline beneath it is "This is no game." Okay? I didn't say it first. Hollywood said it first, and Hasbro said it first. Hasbro owned Dungeons and Dragons in 2000. Okay? They had bought it in 1999 from Wizards of the Coast. So Hasbro somebody took the poster and said, and it went through multiple executives, and they're like, Dungeons and Dragons, this is no game. Dungeons and Dragons is not a game. It's right on the poster. It's right here. It's in print. You gonna sign off on that? They're like, yeah, absolutely. Dungeons and Dragons, this is no game. Let's do it. Yep, done. Check. Done. Right? Hollywood said it before me. Hasbro said it before me. And guess what? All right? Let's do the math, okay? Gary Gygax was born in 1938, okay? He made Dungeons and Dragons in 1974. At this point, and let's talk about Gary Gygax. Why did he make it? Why did he make it? Okay? Why did he make Dungeons and Dragons? In my humble opinion, it's very clear, right? He knew humanity needed a human improvement engine. He knew it, right? He knew it passionately, right? He had a blood-soaked youth, right? He grew up as World War II raged when he was 6 years old, right? The first 2 nuclear bombs rained down on the earth. He saw the most devastating war that had ever touched humanity. He lived a blood-soaked youth, right? But when he was 7, 8, 9, and 10, they were starting. He was at the first duck in cover, right? They were like, "You can blow. You are the first child ever who is under threat of blowing away in fiery embers. Welcome to the world, Gary Gygax." And I think he looked at it and he was like, "This can't stand, right? I've got to make a way where humans have a path forward, right?" And that's what he did. He built a human improvement engine and he disguised it as Dungeons and Dragons, in my humble opinion. It was never a game, in my humble opinion, right? The only thing that what we're talking about today is I thought I was the first to say it. I'm not, right? Like, Hollywood said it first in the year 2000. They printed on like 10,000 posters, and Hasbro was like, yes, we're absolutely comfortable putting 1 inch away from the words Dungeons and Dragons. This is no game, right? And so I'm not the only one who has said this, right? Hasbro has said this is no game, and Hollywood has said this is no game. And guess what? Gary Gygax was alive in 2000, right? And he saw the posters going up, right? He saw the posters go up. You know what he did? You know what he did when he saw Dungeons and Dragons 1 inch below it on 10,000 posters, the words, "This is no game"? He did not run to his local journalist and tell them, "There has to be a correction. I created a game. This is completely, this is wrong. This is completely wrong." You know what Gary was like? He's like, "Yeah, that's fine." Like, now, what did he say? Literally, his silence spoke, right? He saw the poster. He was quite alive then, right? And he was not in any state of disrepair at that point, right? I got within 5 feet of Gary Gygax at the 2003 Gen Con, 5 years before he died in 2008, right? And he was doing fine, right? This was 3 years before then. He was completely lucid. He understood what was happening, and he let his silence speak. He had a chance to say, "No, everyone, you need to understand that this is a game," and he let his silence speak, right? And I think, I think he was playing it coy, because the reality is, he was right. He was right. Nobody needed, he could have scrawled every piece of information he had for humanity into a self-help book. It wouldn't have helped anybody, because nobody would have read it, right? Instead, he was like, "Listen, humanity, I'm going to give each one of you extra lives, right? Some of you will have 1,000 lives. Some of you will have 100 lives. The dungeon masters will create 100 worlds. They'll have 1,000 lives. The players will live in, will live in 100 identities." And he brought new narrative. He brought new identity. He really transformed human intellect, right? And how we're going to model our lives going forward. And I think many smart people are modeling their lives with Dungeons and Dragons right now. Ben from Questing Beast recently said, and if you think I'm wrong, go look at Ben from Questing Beast and go look at the cosign from Dave Thaumavore that says, hey, the 5e community expect Dungeon Masters to be life coaches. That's really fascinating. Why on earth would the majority of players expect life coaching from a Dungeon Master? Maybe because in the back of their head there's an itch saying this was never a game. They told us in 2000. Hollywood told us and Hasbro told us. It says Dungeons and Dragons. This is no game. I wasn't the first to say it. Now I'm saying more, right? I'm backing it up and saying here's the evidence, right? And I understand, right? Gary hit it, right? So in my humble opinion. So right now this is simply my humble opinion. But I'm telling you, we're 48 years in. And that ain't a lot of time, right? And there are going to be people who are smarter than me, more skilled at communication than me, and I think we're really going to unearth the truth of it. That those words on that 2000 poster were 100% correct. That's my every word of that is my humble opinion. I'm the only person who holds the opinion that Gary really built Dungeons and Dragons as a human improvement engine and specifically hit it, right, to help humanity. That's my humble opinion. But I'm not the first to say this is no game. I'm not the first. Okay, Hollywood said it first. Hasbro said it first. It's right in print, and it's in the thumbnail for this video, right? And also linked below is Dave Thaumavore, and I didn't know this for 20 years. I saw this in Dave Thaumavore's video, right? And that's linked below as well. You got to check this out. This is incredible. I'm not the first to say Dungeons and Dragons, this is no game. Hollywood beat me to it. Hasbro beat me to it, right? I'm calling you to live it. Because I really believe it's true. It's my humble opinion, it's true. All that's my humble opinion. I'm very eager to hear your humble opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.